Chapter 7. Claws of Deceit. I had just gotten home from work, riding high from another successful sale. I opened my laptop and tapped the video call button. I couldn't wait to tell my parents the good news about the car, the deals, and the fact that I had finally secured a spot at one of the best colleges in LA. The screen lit up and my mom's face appeared, but instead of the usual smile, I saw tears streaming down her cheeks. "Mom? What's wrong?" My heart sank. She tried to speak, but her voice cracked. Dad's face appeared next to hers, looking grim. "It's Kuji," he said. That name hit me like a punch to the gut. "What happened?" I asked, my voice trembling. Mom wiped her eyes. "The police came yesterday. Investigators. They're asking questions about you. They want to know why we've accepted your death without much resistance." "Shit," I whispered, running a hand through my hair. "And Kuji?" Dad's jaw tightened. He was watching. He saw the police come. Today he showed up with Toru and some other gang members. They barged in, demanding answers. Mom started crying again. They were high on something. Koji's eyes, they were bloodshot. He kept yelling that you're alive, that we're hiding you. "Did they hurt you?" I asked, my fists clenching. Dad shook his head. "I told them to leave. I stood my ground. But it's not over, Kaito. He'll be back." Hearing that made my blood boil. "That bastard. He's still messing with you? After everything?" "He's scared," Dad said quietly. "If the police dig too deep, they'll uncover everything. His drug business, his crimes. You're a threat to him, Kaito, even from across the ocean." I sat back, trying to process it all. I thought leaving Japan would keep my family safe, but Kuji wasn't letting go. "What do we do?" I whispered. Dad's voice was steady. "We keep going. We don't show fear." Mom shook her head. "But what if they come back? What if they hurt us?" I felt a surge of anger and determination. "I'm bringing you both here, to LA. It's the only way to keep you safe." Mom looked at me, her eyes wide. "What? I've got the money now. I've got a place. I can take care of you both." Dad frowned. "Kaito, it's not that simple." "I don't care," I said firmly. "I'm not letting Kuji ruin our lives anymore. You're coming here, and that's final." That night I barely slept. I kept replaying the conversation in my head, thinking about Kuji's bloodshot eyes, the threats, the fear in my mom's voice. I thought I had left that life behind, but the past wasn't done with me yet. Still, I wasn't the same scared kid who ran from a gang in Japan. I was stronger now, smarter. And if Kuji thought he could intimidate me from across the world, he had another thing coming. The morning after that sleepless night, I called my parents again. My mind was focused. I knew what needed to be done. When my mom answered the video call, I saw the exhaustion in her eyes. "Kaito, are you okay?" she asked. "I'm fine, Mom. But listen, we can't keep living like this. Kuji won't stop harassing you, and it's too dangerous for you and Dad to stay behind." I paused, letting my words sink in before continuing. "I want you both to start preparing your visas and documents. Book a flight to LA as soon as possible. I'll handle everything here. We'll figure it out together." My mom nodded, wiping tears from her eyes. "We'll start right away." My dad appeared in the background of the call, standing firm and steady, but his expression was serious. "Are you sure about this, Kaito?" "It's a big move." "I'm sure, Dad. It's the only way to keep you safe." For the next few weeks, my parents worked tirelessly to prepare for their immigration. They gathered all the necessary documents, filed visa applications, and began packing up their lives. We even hired Haruto as a caretaker to watch out over our property while we're gone. Haruto has always been the trusted friend I can rely on. Someone who will really look after our property. A real friend, and I didn't mind paying him more to live there. But before leaving, there was one more thing my dad needed to do. At the dojo. Dad stood outside the dojo, gazing at the entrance that had been a second home to him for years. The wooden sign above the door read, "Tanaka Dojo," and the faint sound of swords clashing echoed from within. Dad took a deep breath and stepped inside. Master Riku Tanaka was in the training hall, instructing a group of students. When he saw Dad, he dismissed the class with a respectful bow. The students filed out quietly, leaving them two alone. "Hiroshi," Master Riku greeted, his calm demeanor unwavering. "I was wondering when you'd come." Dad bowed deeply. "Master, I've come to say goodbye." Master Riku's eyes narrowed slightly. "Goodbye? What has happened?" Dad took a deep breath, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "It's Kuji." He hasn't stopped harassing my family. The investigators visited our home recently, and Kuji's gang is growing more desperate. It's too dangerous to stay. My wife and I are leaving to join Kaito in Los Angeles. Master Riku listened carefully, his expression somber. I had hoped Kuji would find a different path. But some men are consumed by darkness. He placed a hand on Dad's shoulder. You are doing what any father would do, protecting your family. But this is not an easy farewell. Dad nodded. You've been more than a teacher to me. You've been a friend, a mentor, and you, Hiroshi, have been a loyal student and a man of great honor. Master Riku's voice softened. The path you are taking will be difficult, but I trust you will find peace in a new life together with your son Kaito. The two men bowed deeply to each other, a gesture of mutual respect that spoke more than words ever could. As Dad turned to leave, Master Riku called out to him, Hiroshi. He turned back. Tell Kaito, he carries the spirit of the warrior within him. No matter where life takes him, he must never forget his roots. I will, Dad promised. Back at home, my parents finalized their preparations. They packed their most essential belongings and secured the house before leaving for the airport. The night before my parents were set to leave Japan, I barely slept. I kept checking my phone, making sure they had all the details right. Visas booked, flight confirmed. Documents all in order. We couldn't afford any mistakes. I sent them extra money for contingencies and hired a bodyguard to escort them to the airport. I didn't want to take any chances. Kuji and his gang weren't just street punks, they were dangerous, unpredictable, and desperate to protect their crumbling empire. When morning came, I video called my parents. Are you ready? I asked, my voice steady. My dad, Hiroshi, nodded. We're packed. Everything is in order. My mom, Akane, gave a faint smile, though I could see the worry etched on her face. We'll be fine, Kaito. Remember, I said, act normal. No sudden movements. No signs that you're leaving for good. Kuji might have people watching. We've got it, my dad assured me. We'll see you soon. I ended the call and took a deep breath. All I could do now was wait. But something gnawed at me, a feeling I couldn't shake. Kuji wasn't the type to let things slide. He'd been watching my family, lurking in the shadows, waiting for any sign of weakness. And now they were making their move. Narita International Airport, Tokyo, Japan. Dad and Mom arrived at the airport with their bodyguard, a towering man named Takeda. He was a former security specialist, built like a tank, with a no-nonsense demeanor. They moved through the crowded terminal, blending in with the sea of travelers. Their luggage was discreet, and they kept their heads low. Straight to check-in, Takeda instructed. No stops. No distractions. As they approached the counter, a voice stopped them cold. Well, well, well. Where do you think you're going? Dad froze. He knew that voice. Slowly, he turned to see Kuji standing a few feet away, flanked by two of his gang brothers, Toru and Kenji. Kuji's bloodshot eyes were locked onto them, his grin twisted and cruel. Kuji, Dad said through clenched teeth, this is none of your business. None of my business? Kuji sneered, stepping closer. See, I think it is my business. You think you can just leave? Disappear? After what your son did to us? My son did nothing to you, Dad said firmly. He's dead. Kuji laughed, a harsh, ugly sound. Dead, huh? You expect me to believe that shit? You think I'm stupid? I don't give a damn what you believe, Dad snapped. Now get out of my way. Kuji's face darkened. You're not going anywhere, old man. Takeda stepped in front of Dad and Mom. Back off. Kuji sized him up, his grin returning. Oh, you brought a babysitter? How cute! Toru and Kenji edged closer. The tension in the air was palpable. Travelers around them began to take notice, whispering and casting wary glances. Here's the deal, Koji said, his voice low and dangerous. I know your son is still alive, and I'm gonna find him. When I do, I'll make sure he doesn't get back up. Enough, Dad said. Leave my family alone. Kuji took a step forward, but Takeda didn't flinch. I suggest you walk away, our bodyguard said coldly. Kuji smirked.
Or what?
Flash, Kuji slapped Takeda across the face, a move meant to provoke. But Takeda didn't hesitate. He grabbed Kuji by the collar and slammed him against a pillar. You've made your point, Takeda said. Now walk away. But Toru and Kenji weren't about to let their gang brother go down without a fight. They lunged at Takeda, fists flying. Takeda fought back with precision, but he was outnumbered. Kenji landed a punch to his side, while Toru aimed for his head. Kuji, who had smuggled in a knife earlier, moved swiftly toward Dad. Sensing the danger, Dad instinctively pulled Mom behind him, shielding her with his body. Toru pulled out a 9mm Glock 19 and aimed it at Takeda, his intent clear. The terminal erupted into chaos. People screamed, security alarms blared, and panic spread like wildfire. In that split second, Takeda made his move. With lightning reflexes, he grabbed Toru's wrist before he could react. Striking the firearm from his grip, the gun clattered to the ground, skidding across the polished floor. Without hesitation, Takeda lunged forward, scooping up the weapon and snapping his aim toward Toru and Kenji. "Enough," he roared, his voice cutting through the chaos. Toru and Kenji froze, their hands instinctively lifting in surrender. Kuji, still gripping his knife, hesitated, his eyes darting between Takeda and the weapon, now pointed at his men. The weight of Takeda's presence holding everything in a fragile balance. Kuji's eyes widened. "You wouldn't dare." Then he ran towards Dad, with the knife still on his hand. 2 shots rang out. The first hit Kuji in the leg, sending him crumpling to the floor with a scream. The second struck Kenji in the chest. He stumbled backward, eyes wide with shock, before collapsing. Toru froze, his hands in the air. I'm out," he stammered, backing away before bolting for the exit like a coward. The airport travelers scattered, running for cover. Security officers rushed toward the scene, weapons drawn. Dad held Mom close, trembling. "Are you okay?" She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "We're okay." Takeda lowered his weapon, breathing heavily. "Stay calm," he said. "I'll handle this." Back in LA, I was pacing my apartment when my phone buzzed. It was my dad. "Dad, what happened?" I blurted out before he could say anything. "We're safe," he said, his voice steady but tired. "But there was an incident." My heart pounded in my chest like a war drum. "What kind of incident?" "Kuji showed up at the airport," he said bluntly. My blood ran cold. "What? How?" "He's in custody now. One of his men is dead. The police are handling it." I sat down heavily on the edge of my couch. "Dad, are you sure you're okay?" "We're fine. Takeda protected us. If it wasn't for him..." His voice trailed off, but I knew what he meant. I ran a shaky hand through my hair. "Jesus. We'll be on the next flight out," he added. "We're not staying here any longer." Relief flooded my system. "Good. I'll be here. Just stay safe until then." Mom and Dad then to stay at the Grand Imperial Hotel, one of the few places in Osaka known for its tight security and discretion. I made sure of that. I sent them money to cover their stay and told them to keep their heads down. They were traumatized, who wouldn't be? They'd almost been killed by a maniac they once knew as a boy. Kuji wasn't just a punk kid anymore, he was something far worse. The next day, my phone buzzed again. It was my mom. Her voice was shaky but relieved to hear mine. "We're okay, Kaito," she said softly. "The investigators came to the hotel to ask questions." My stomach tightened. "Don't trust anyone," I warned. "Be careful and stay vigilant. The police may be on our side, but Kuji's men could be anywhere." "I know, son. We're being careful." They stayed in the hotel for several more days, answering questions from investigators until they were cleared of any crime. Takeda, the bodyguard we hired, was being held for questioning too. He'd shot Kuji and the other gang member, Kenji, in self-defense. Kuji survived, barely, but Kenji was dead. I decided to call Takeda. The least I could do was thank him for protecting my parents. "Takeda," I said when he answered. "Thank you. You saved my family," he chuckled softly. "I was just doing my job, Kaito." "Still," I insisted, "I owe you. And I'm not letting you face this alone. I'm hiring an attorney to defend you. We'll get you cleared of any crime." Takeda was quiet for a moment. "You're a good man, Kaito. Your father raised you well." I hung up, more determined than ever. No one would touch my family again. Not Kuji, not his gang, not anyone. Meanwhile, back in Osaka, things were heating up in ways I hadn't anticipated. Toru, one of Kuji's right-hand men, had fled the airport scene as soon as the gunfire started. He slipped through the cracks and went straight to their boss. Shiro Kurado. Shiro was a name whispered in fear across Japan. The kind of man you never wanted to cross. A drug lord with connections that stretched far beyond Osaka. His empire reached across borders, feeding addictions and destroying lives. The Yakuza didn't just tolerate him, they respected him. And now his men were making headlines. Toru knelt before Shiro, head bowed. "It's bad, boss. Koji's in custody, and Kenji's dead." Shiro's eyes narrowed. He sat back in his chair, fingers tapping rhythmically on the desk. "Tell me everything." Toru explained what had happened at the airport, how Koji had gone to confront Kaito's parents, how it had ended in bloodshed and chaos. "You idiots," Shiro muttered, shaking his head. "All of this, for what? To confront an old man and his wife?" He stood abruptly, slamming his hand on the desk. "Do you have any idea what you've done? You've brought attention to us. International attention. Boss, I swear it wasn't supposed to go down like that. Koji was..." Toru hesitated. "He was high." Shiro's expression darkened further. "He better keep his mouth shut about us." "If he talks..." He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. Toru swallowed hard. "What should we do?" Shiro leaned in, his voice low and menacing. "We wait. We watch. And if Kaito Arashi is alive, we find him." The days my parents spent waiting in that hotel were some of the longest of my life. Every day, I called them to check in, making sure they were okay and that nothing strange was happening. The trauma of the airport incident still weighed heavily on all of us, and I knew they were on edge. "We're fine, Kaito," my dad would say every time, but I could hear the exhaustion in his voice. "Just stay vigilant," I reminded them. "Don't trust anyone you don't know. And don't leave the hotel unless you have to." Meanwhile, Takada was still being held under investigation. The footage from the airport terminal clearly showed Koji holding a knife, but there were still legal hurdles to clear. I made sure Takada had one of the best lawyers in the city, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Rachel Porter. She had a reputation for getting results, and I trusted her to do everything possible to get Takada out of this mess. "I'll make sure your man is protected," Rachel assured me over the phone. "The evidence is on our side. The airport footage is clear, and the toxicology reports on Koji and his gang members are damning." "Good," I said. "Takada saved my parents' lives. I owe him everything." Rachel's voice softened a bit. "And I'll make sure he knows that his actions were justified. He's a hero, Kaito, not a criminal." Still, it wasn't easy waiting for the investigation to play out. I knew the legal system could be slow, and every day Takada remained in custody felt like an injustice. But I had to focus on one thing at a time, getting my parents safely out of Japan. Finally, after a few more days of questioning and red tape, my parents were cleared to leave. The police confirmed they were not suspects in any crime and had no further questions for them. "We're booking the next available flight," my dad told me during our call that morning. "We'll be there soon, Kaito." Relief washed over me. "I'll be waiting at the airport." Their journey was long but smooth. They took extra precautions, traveling light and blending in with other passengers to avoid drawing attention. My dad insisted on keeping his phone off until they landed, just to be safe.